Hello, my name is Scott Grisard from the University of South Florida. This is Quiz 1A, quiz review. As usual, there is chat in Twitch, but that chat is public. So if you want to ask questions, you can do that. But remember, those are public. If you want to ask private questions, those are in Blackboard Collaborate Ultra. Also, polls are in Blackboard Collaborate Ultra. So let's look at this quiz. All right. Question 1. Also, this quiz on the first 2 weeks of Dudism policy, this quiz may be taken for full credit. This office hours thing, that is from last year, where I unfortunately forgot to change the verbiage. This should say on Canvas or something like that for full credit. And you'll see it there. There'll be a take up assignment. Okay. What is your name? Wiley E. Coyote. What is your quest to catch the Road Runner? Beep, beep. Have I taken calculus before? I took Acme Instant Calculus and Rocket Piloting course last year. All right. This problem here, let's get rid of the thing here. These graphs, so 1 to 5, how do we feel about problem 1? Question 1, how do we feel about that 1 to 5? Okay, we know our name and why we're here. Okay. Question 2. This is one of these graphing problems. There are kind of 3 steps to this. I'm going to make notes and graph any problems and graph any points that I absolutely know have no flexibility on. Step 2 is I'm going to draw the graph. Step 3 is I'm going to check my work. Let me show you what I mean by this. So f of 0, 2. This means that 0, 2 is a point on the graph. So I'm going to come over here. I'm going to go to 0, and then I'm going to go x equals 0, y equals 2. I'm going to do the same thing here. Negative 3, negative 4. So I go 1, 2, 3 over to the left, 1, 2, 3, 4 down, and there are those 2 points. 1 to 5, how do we feel about that? Those kind of first 2 conditions. This next one says, and feel free to ask questions. Every x has a y value. That's what this one says. So I can't really graph this yet, so I'm just going to make a little note. That means every x has a y value. For every x greater than 0, f of x equals negative 2. So what is f of 1? If x equals 1, what is y? Well, negative 2. If x equals 3, what is y? Negative 2. If x equals 1/2, what is y? Negative 2. If x equals pi, what is y? Negative 2. As long as x is positive, y is negative 2. 1 to 5, how do we feel about what that one is asking us? Okay. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to draw an open circle here because I don't want to include 0. And then I'm going to draw a line right there. Now, f is increasing on the interval negative 6, 0, including negative 6, but not including 0. Okay. So what am I going to do there? I'm going to make myself a note. Okay, from -6 to 0, I'm increasing. All right, so that's all the conditions. Now I'm going to draw my graph based on my notes. All right, so I need to be increasing here. So let's make this go down here like this. Let's make this come up here. Do something like that. All right, so that's what I'm going to draw here. Now, check my work. Is f of 0 equal to 2? Yes. Is f of -3 equal to -4? Yes. Is f defined everywhere? Yes. For every x greater than 0, is f of x equal to -2? Yes. Is f of x increasing from -6 to 0? Yes. It's increasing beyond that, but it's increasing there. You can retake this quiz if you want to. This is an open, free retake. After you've seen the answer key, you can retake this quiz. Okay? Is that true? Yes. Now, did I pass the vertical line test? Remember, this is a function. No, retake is with the exact same questions. Same quiz. Do I pass the vertical line test? Yes. So my work is good. 1 to 5, how do we feel about this problem? I'm not sure. Someone is saying, so the bottom line is open. By the way, I'm not saying your names because this is going out on Twitch. So it's not that I can't see your name or pronounce your name, although sometimes I can't pronounce your name. I don't want to actually say your name on the video because that's public. The video is public. The bottom line is open. So it goes on forever. The open circle, yes. So here, f of 0 is 2. F of 0.00001 is -2. Yes, so that is what makes it so that it passes the vertical line test, right? F of 0 is not -2, it's 2. Okay. Let f be a real function. I've got a piecewise function here. Correct. The little purple arrow, the light purple down here, those are notes. F of -3 equals -1/5, right? I take -3, I use this rule, and I get 1 over -3 minus 2, which is -1 over 5, which is the same thing as -1, as 1 over -5, which is the same thing as -1 over 5. F of 2, I use this rule here, and I get 7. So A and C, 1 to 5, how do we feel about those two? Kiara's like a ninja now. She went ahead of time and she posted in number 3 so far, and she's like, the minute I said 1 to 5, she's like, ninja. Very nice. Okay. For part B, I want f of negative 3 over 10. Well, negative 3 over 10 is less than 2, so I'm going to use this part of the rule. I'm going to do 1 over negative 3 over 10 minus 2, which is 1 over negative 3 over 10 minus 20. I take a little common denominator there. I put them together, 1 over negative 23 over 10, and then I take the reciprocal because, I'm dividing 1 over a fraction. So what I do is I flip the fraction and I get negative 10 over 23. 1 to 5, part B. Okay. Part D, f of t equals 1 over t minus 2. Well, t is less than 2, so I'll use this one here. I take t and I stick it in here, and I get where x was, so I get 1 over t minus 2. 1 to 5, how do we feel about that one? People, please vote. Your vote matters. I have an uncorruptible system here, right? I count votes and they will be accurate, right? There's no fraud going on here. The system's automatic. That too soon? Trust me, I'll dig into both parties. Don't worry about that. I am an equal opportunity hate you all. For not hate you all, I mean politicians. Equal opportunity, I hate all politicians, pretty much. Okay, so there will be, no need to riot over these votes. Please vote. All right, what is the domain of f? All right, it wasn't that funny. Little funny. Hilarious is a bit too far. What is the domain of f? Well, it's all real numbers, right? Because I've defined for 2 and then I've defined for everything else. The domain wouldn't be negative 3 to 7. The question is, what x values do I have valid y values for? And the answer is all of them, right? If you throw in x of 3, you'll get an answer. Be 7. Okay? What x values? So domain is about the x values. It's a good question. Okay. 1 to 5, how do we feel about that domain question? Yeah, so the range would be like something along those lines. Actually, the range is, yeah. But the domain is what we're asking about. Speaking of range, what I want are the y values if x is between 0 and 1. So where is the range? All real numbers, you can even write all real numbers, by the way. I'm fine with that. Just tell me what the set is for the domain. The domain is R, which is that symbol for all real numbers. Negative infinity to infinity, that works too. All real numbers as a sentence or as a phrase, it's not really a sentence, that works great too. Now, so this question is asking what interval does the y values? What is the range if the domain is 0, 1? 1 to 5, how do we feel about that? The what part F is asking for? It's asking for the y values associated with those x values. Yes, so the correct answer is -1 to -1/2, closed on the left, open on the right. The idea was that you'd come up here, you see this word image? The idea was that you'd type an image of a function into Google, and you'd come up with something like this. And then you'd be able to read about what it means by the image. Okay? No, actually, because it's not. So the closed bracket says include. So let's talk about what this set is. That's a good question. So A equals, what was it, 0, 1? Open, close. So this means that for every x in A, or x is in A, this is the set of numbers between 0 and 1, including 1, but excluding 0. All right, so if I have my number line here, here's 0, here's 1, I don't want this, but I do want this. Okay? Because I felt like A. So 1 to 5, how do we feel about this interval notation? Okay. If you're uncomfortable with that, come and talk to me. We'll talk about it. Okay. So what I want to do is I want to draw a picture. My question is, what does the y space look like? If my x space is between 0 and 1, where's my y space? So what I'm going to do, first of all, everything is less than 2, so I'm only going to be using this piece. Now, I plug in 0. If I plug in 0 here, I get 1 over 0 minus 2. That's -1/2. So that's over here. So 0 is going to map to -1/2. And 1 is going to map to -1. And everything in the middle is going to map to something between those two values. So my image, or my range for this input, is this set of outputs. From all of the outputs from -1 to -1 over 2. Okay? Now, I can also, if I wanted to not do an arrow diagram, if I wanted to do a graph, this is what the graph would look like. So here's this graph, here's this function. Here's the graph of this function on Desmos. Okay? And now what I want is I want x to be restricted to 0 and 1. So if x is restricted between 0 and 1, I'm going to have this little blue bit here on the graph. Okay. 1 to 5, how do we feel about that? The intuition about what's going on. What the question's asking and kind of how I can figure it out visually. Okay. So what I did here was I drew a picture. Okay. So x space, here's my x space. Here's 0. So here's my big real number line. It's the x space. Here's 0. Here's 1. Here's 0.5, etc. Here's my y space. Now, if I'm at 0, I'm going to wind up with 1 over negative 2, which is the same thing as negative 1 over 2. Oh, sorry. Now, if I'm at 1, if I'm at my other endpoint, I'm going to wind up here. So my y space is going to go from negative 1 to negative 1 over 2. Not drawn to scale, right? Negative 2/3. This would be negative 3/4. So negative 2/3 is about there. So when I do this arrow diagram, it's going to look like this. All right. So the area I'm interested in is the stuff in between. And then this point is excluded on this side. So I'm going to exclude 1/2 on that side. This point is included because that point is included. Okay. So 1 to 5, how do we feel about this? That's how I get my negative 1 to negative 1/2. I drew a picture, and I figured it out that way. What's the moral of the story? If you don't know what you're doing, when in doubt, draw a picture. Okay? How do we feel about the moral of the story? When in doubt, draw a picture. Now, you could plug it in, but the point is you wanted to figure out what was going. When in doubt, draw it out. There you go. Okay? And that's going to be true in this class again and again and again and again. And you're going to get partial, if you don't know what you're doing on a test, you can get partial credit for drawing a good picture. So draw pictures. All right, let's go over this last one. F of x plus h minus f of x over h. So if f of x, everything is less than 2, so I'm going to use this 2 business here, right? I'm going to pick this one here. So that means that f of x plus x, h, is 1 over x plus h minus 2, and f of x is 1 over x minus 2 over h. Okay. So 1 to 5, how do we feel about making this substitution here in G? Now, h does not become a 0. Now, what I'm going to do here is I'm going to take the common denominator, right? I'm going to multiply the left side by x minus 2 over x minus 2, the right side by x plus h minus 2, top and bottom. And then when I combine these things and I move the h here, I'm going to wind up with x minus 2. These things are going to cancel. I'm going to wind up with negative h over this. The h's cancel. I wind up with negative 1 over this. Okay? So 1 to 5, how do we feel about the common denominator algebra bit? Okay, so the question is, why do we make this substitution? So someone's asked a question, why do we do this? So let's look at this. Let's say g of x equals x plus 3. Okay? So what is g of 6? 6 plus 3. What is g of a? A plus 3. What is g of pi? Pi plus 3. What is g of x plus h? Was that your question? Okay. So that's why we make that substitution. Good question. Why did I not add parentheses? I could have, but it doesn't matter because of this. I probably should have, but x plus h in parentheses minus 2 is the exact same thing as x plus h minus 2. Now, if I was subtracting, that'd be a different issue, but I'm not there. I don't have a negative in front of the x plus h. No, the correct answer, the final answer is negative 1 over x plus h minus 2 times x minus 2. Yes, x minus 2 is that piece. Okay. So what's the formula F? You are given one. All problems on this page refer to this particular function. You can distribute if you want to. That's fine. The big evaluation that I wanted you to do is get rid of this h here. But you can. If you want to. This is the pattern for those precalc problems. So I was just sticking to what the precalc thing did. All good questions. Any others? Okay. So to take the retake, there'll be a special assignment called Quiz 1 Retake. 1A Retake. That's what you'll take. Okay? And it'll be up tomorrow. Any other questions? Okay. So that's the quiz. I'm going to stop streaming now, and we're going to talk about the problem sets and how that works.